Joining us on the Meyer Supercenter guest line right now, covering the Detroit Lions for MLive, co-host of the Dungeon of Doom podcast, and a Central Michigan Chippewa, good friend of the show, Benjamin Raven. Find him on Twitter at Benjamin S. Raven. Benji, my man, what's going on? Good morning to you, partner. How are you? How's life? How are things?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Through a busy week of minicamp, and we got one session left before summer break, so this is as good as mood as you'll find me in on the calendar year.
Man, I'm telling you, I really appreciate you taking the time, because I know you guys are pumping out articles left and right, trying to cover everything that's taking place. And I don't know if anybody else is going to do it this way. And that's why you came on this show, because the first question, a lot of people want to ask about Jameson. They want to talk about the defense. What's going on in the kicking battle right now, Ben? What do we have? I mean, we trade for Riley Patterson. We get him from Jacksonville in exchange. And wait a minute, some guy from the XFL pops up.
Yeah, Parker Romo. Don't call him John. Call him Parker Romo. We got the update on that. And he was blasting 60-yarders last week, and obviously that's the type of stuff that's going to gain headlines and make people think you have the leg up. But then yesterday, Riley versus Parker Romo in a one-on-one battle, and they were kicking from about 48, and then they kicked some from 50 to 52, moved around the hash, and they were each 6 of 10 going in the final two kicks. I think they backed them up to about 55 yards, and Riley missed, and Parker Romo smacked his off the upright, and I'd say Michael Badgley was the winner by not being out there on the field right now. So I think Badgley's the poll leader heading into training camp, but I would give Parker Romo the best shot at kind of supplanting him, just because he's got what either doesn't have in that 60-plus range.
Oh, man, a three-way kicker battle. Not too often you're going to start camp talk off with talking about the special teams. But, hey, special's got to be special, right? And, for years we took it for granted because we had Jason Hanson, we had Matt Prater. It's like the kicking game was an afterthought. It's one of those things you hope is an afterthought, that you don't have to be concerned about it. So hopefully they'll get that ironed out. What have you seen now from Jameson Williams? Let's get to the meat and the potatoes of this thing. He's serving the 6-game suspension. Everyone's well aware of that. How has he looked? Because I was reading wildly inconsistent.
Yeah. Oh, he's possibly the most, and I don't want to freak Lions fans out, because this guy's got star potential. He's worth the first-round pick and all that. But, I was talking to Jeremy Rice from the POD yesterday, and it was like, he's the most volatile, inconsistent star-level player I've ever seen in my life, at least in practice, and that's kind of only we've seen of him. I mean, yesterday, I'll just focus on yesterday. He had a pretty solid day 2 of minicamp this week, working with the second team. Yesterday he was with the first team. He's working with the second team, getting as much reps as possible. And this is just kind of the perfect encapsulation of Jameson right now on the field. Absolutely shreds Cam Sutton on a post route. I mean, he's got 3 or 4 yards on him going into the end zone all alone, perfectly tossed ball, bounces right off of his hands. I mean, there was absolutely no reason he shouldn't caught that ball. He hollers at the heavens, runs back to the huddle, and 2 plays later, they're down in the red zone, 2 or 3 plays later, and just nothing's going on this rollout. Jared Goff and J-Mo lock eyes, and J-Mo kind of just sprints, uses that speed to just find a hole in the defense, makes an impressive feat, gets both feet in, makes an impressive catch, and literally falls right at my feet. But, I mean, the drops, I don't give a crap about his social media likes or anything like that. The gambling suspension is what it is. The more you hear about the details on it, it's kind of like, all right, let's clean up these rules and let these humans be humans. But I would just say the most concerning thing about his game is pick 12 that they traded assets for, and now that they're going to burn a year and a half of his first 2 years on that rookie contract, are the drops. He's got to clean those up. I mean, you cannot have that many drops. I mean, at least there's some good on paper now, but the drops are getting concerning. And I don't want to throw the red flags up, but it's more than one a day.
Panic. Benjamin Raven says, everybody panic. We are the dog that's sitting in the middle of the kitchen with a house on fire, and that's where we're at now. I'm sweating. I'm sweating profusely right now. Thank you for that, Benjamin. Thank you very much. On to the act. It still feels like J-Mo's a rookie, which is weird. But like you said, I mean, we're seeing, we've seen him appear in 6 games. We've seen him catch one football and take one end around, and like that, we really haven't seen a whole lot of him. So it does kind of feel like he is a rookie. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, the 4 guys that were selected in the first 2 rounds of this past year's draft. Who has stood out the most to you?
Yeah, and I will agree about J-Mo feeling like a rookie. But out of those guys this year, it's Sam Laporta. I mean, seriously, he looks like a pro. I mean, seriously, and they're using him all over the field. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. he alternates between wearing gloves like Br0's and not wearing them. It's pretty cool. He's a smooth cat. There's no doubt about it. And he's kind of as advertised. I'd say that for Jack Campbell too. You know, the size and the speed are what we see with him. You know, obviously you don't get a great feel for the linebackers during the Pajama Olympics. That is the off-season program. We'll get a better feel of that in August. But I mean, Sam Laporta, I mean, he looks like he's going to have some serious receiving ability. And I mean, he's just kind of cemented my belief that he's like the perfect type of tight end for Jared Goff. He's kind of what we thought TJ Hawkinson would be for Goff. But Laporta has what I think to be even better yak ability. I mean, he's a magician with the ball in his hand when he's running in the open field. I mean, he don't look like a tight end when he's running on those slants or those play action crossers that Goff likes to run so much. I mean, it's going to be hard to overlook that guy. He looks great. And Gibbs, I'll say this about Gibbs. I knew he was going to be a talented receiver. I didn't know he was going to be getting so many reps out wide, so many just kind of reps all over the field. We're seeing different two running back looks, and they didn't do that much with Swift and Williams last year. They're going to do that this year with Gibbs and Montgomery, and I think that's smart. I think that's the direction they need to go, and I think that's how you justify taking a running back with pick 12 is by using him all over the field, incorporating him as a weapon, as a receiver, and that's exactly what they're doing. And I will say, for June and May practices, him and Goff have a pretty impressive chemistry on the passing attack. So those guys, it's been solid. Branch had an injury to start his offseason program. Been a little slow off the ground, but he had some solid moments on Wednesday, I believe, breaking up a couple of passes. I mean, had like a Peanut Tillman punch out on a pass. You like to see that level of aggression for sure. But yeah, I would say Laporta is the king of the crop of the rookie class right now.
You know, I really like that about Jahmyr Gibbs because I'll ask you this, Benjamin. If Jahmyr Gibbs in his position didn't say RB and it said WR, do you think that people would have been as maybe perplexed about the pick as they were? I mean, I was there at the draft party. You should have seen the crowd. I mean, they were announcing, hey, we're moving back, and people like, oh my God, we're moving back. Like, why aren't we addressing the secondary right now?
Yeah. No, I think people would have been confused and frustrated about that pick any which way about it. And it's kind of one of those, Brad Holmes has earned enough kind of say at this point that you got to kind of trust the process on that one. I mean, me sitting here today looking at it right now, I still can't believe they took a running back not named Bijan in the first round. But hey, they're gonna milk it for everything it's worth, and they clearly believe in the kid, and they clearly think he's got a higher ceiling and a more durable ceiling than DeAndre Swift, or they would not have made that move. But I mean, at least I see the vision. At least I think it's going to create a new page in Ben Johnson's offense. At least it's going to kind of give them another flavor to their passing attack. But I mean, he's going to be a talented runner too. I mean, he's fast. He's faster than Swift. I mean, you can see that on day one. He's got some legit speed to him. But yeah, no, any which way about it, Jahmyr Gibbs pick, wide receiver, running back, both slash. That would have confused people, and I get it.
Yeah, and you know, I think that when you talk about what they're doing and how they're implementing a little bit of Jahmyr Gibbs on the outside, maybe it's not a little bit, maybe it's a lot of it. I mean, you talk about, okay, now you selected somebody at number 12 that can play two positions. That is versatility, is job security, right? And you talk about single back looks where he's motioning out of the backfield. You can go empty and drop into the gun. Now you're really cooking with Crisco, because how do you match up with that as a defense? Like, who are you moving around to match up with somebody who's got that kind of top end speed? That's what's really interesting, because now you're throwing the football and getting him away from a defensive line and already getting him in the open field. We know that Lions wide receivers like to block, because you know what they say: if you want the rock, you got to block, Benjamin. I got a question about another rookie who I don't know if anybody's even mentioned or talked about. Who is Antoine Green, the last selection there, round 7, pick number 219 overall, 6'2", about 200 out of UNC. Have you seen anything from him that would make you say, oh, okay, all right?
I caught myself yesterday saying, my gosh, I just want to see this guy run a vert. All I heard about was speed and explosion and length, and I just haven't seen much from him. He was working with the second team off to the side for quite a bit, and unfortunately, when they were getting that situational work in on Wednesday, Sudfeld was just laser focused on Jamison Williams, which I completely understand going against the second team. But no, I have not seen much from Antoine Green yet. Hopefully on Monday, with the vets going home in our last OTA session, we'll get to see him opening up a bit, because I was just staring at him yesterday, just trying to get a feel for the speed, and I just haven't seen it yet. But that's the time of year it is. We're waiting.
Calvin Johnson is back around the team. And it was not, it was a process that many people didn't think was ever going to happen. And now it's happened. He's been around more and more and more than ever before. What do you make of the repair of that relationship, and how much do we credit, Sheila Ford Hamp for doing that?
It sounds like it was, yeah, I'm sure it came at Sheila's direction. And I did see Kelvin and Sheila talking yesterday on the sideline with her family and stuff. And I mean, I just, that's a win-win for everyone involved. And, I've been banging the table since the moment all this stuff happened that the franchise needed to do what they needed to do to make it right with him, just because, I mean, you got to show the world that you treat your legends right. And I think that's what they're trying to do. And I think, Rod Wood doesn't get a lot of credit from fans, but I do think he's been pretty instrumental in trying to get this going. And Mike Disner is the guy that they kind of keep pointing to as the point person for this, the point person who reached out to Kelvin's friends, the point person who kind of had some similar friends between the two and got them together and stuff like that. So, it's a little jarring. You see Kelvin over there chumming it up with Rod Wood. You see him walking over to Sheila. It's good signs. It's absolutely good signs. And I think even probably without saying something, I think Dan Campbell's presence as the guy he is, as a former short-term teammate of Kelvin Johnson's in Detroit, I think that's really, really helped bridge the gap. I mean, you've got to, I'm not going to dump on the previous regime, but you've got a new regime of like actual human beings who know how to talk to human beings outside of a football field. And I do think that helps. And I do think that Kelvin recognizes that. I mean, there was going to be no reconciliation between those two sides while Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn were running the show because, I'll just say, I don't think they gave a crap about the history of the Lions. They were trying to make their own history. So I think you got the right people in there for this to be going on at the right time.
It's such a good sign. It really is. When you really talk about like culture and what it means, and Dan Campbell, and the fact that everybody's bought in, from not only the locals and the fans to national media members, like Mike Tirico. It feels real. I mean, Stephen A. Smith even giving the Lions some credit. Like, you got what parallel universe am I living in right now, Benjamin? As far as the defensive side of the ball, obviously a lot of veteran presence there in the secondary, and it feels like for the first time we've got quality starters at every single position, plus we have the depth to go along with that and to be able to survive what seems like some issues that we have getting injured.
Yeah, no, from the last couple of weeks, it's like, okay, this defensive backfield is just, it's so much better. It's stickier. It's making life harder for the offense and practices. And it's like they're set up to survive a couple of those injuries right now. I mean, you don't have to worry about Ifeatu Melifonwu potentially being a starter this year. I mean, at best, he's going to be a depth piece. And he's looked good this year, too. So if he stays healthy, like you said, that depth is so real. I'll just say my one takeaway from this week is just C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He is just an energetic pit bull. He has kind of just changed the outward voice of that defense. And I think the Tracy Walker feeding off of it, it's been miraculous to see how great Tracy's been moving around, just 7 or 8 months removed from the Achilles injury, but he's still a leader in that room. He's loud. And I think right now, the guy that's benefiting the most from it, not the rookies, not the other corners, it's Kirby Joseph. Kirby Joseph is like, you see him like just kind of turning into this version of himself that you started seeing last year. The confidence, the swagger, the playmaking ability. He's louder. He's helping set the defense. Just the communication on that back end is what slaps you across the face, because when that second team defense goes in and those safeties aren't talking, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Tracy Walker, Aaron Glenn, Dre Bly, and now Kirby Joseph are screaming at you to talk, to help your defense, The defensive backfield, it's new faces, it's new veterans, it's a new coach, but like they've really taken ownership as leaders of this defense, and that makes complete sense when you see the personalities they have out there. It's just contagious energy. This defense is going to be flying around this year. I've been really impressed by the new defensive backfield and just how little time they needed to get that chemistry.
That's beautiful to hear, because think about it for our listeners. If they're in a base like 4-3 sort of defense where your linebackers were Rodrigo, Anzalone, and Captain Jack, right? Then you'd have what? Cam Sutton, Kirby Smith, Tracy Walker, and Emmanuel Mosley on the back line with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Melifonwu, Branch, and Jerry Jacobs right there. But I'm a big Jerry Jacobs fan too.
Absolutely.
I love a UDFA story. I really do. I want the guy to have a ton of success. And you start to look at that, and it's like, if that secondary is that much better, what this front line might be able to do on the defensive line with the amount of pressure that they were able to create, even when the secondary was hurting, because you have to play complementary football. Your guys got to cover so you can develop a pass rush. Your guys got to have a pass rush so it gives you time to cover, right? It's like the wheels of a clock. Like all the gears have to match up perfectly. How beneficial do you think these back end improvements are going to be for this defensive line with the likes of Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston and John Kaminsky, et cetera?
Oh, just absolutely massive, especially paired with a full off season for Josh Pascal. I think he's really flying under the radar, and I think he's someone that's going to be a key guy for this defense. But it's huge because when you're Aiden, when you're that edge guy, you trust your back end. You trust your back end that you can do your job, that you can kind of do what you have to do. We've seen it for the last 3 or 4 years with just like even the Lions haven't been able to rush only 3 or 4 guys for like 4 or 5 years because they needed every piece of help in the secondary that they could get, or every piece of zone coverage added to their man coverage that they could get. So it's just going to make life easier. And the defensive line rotation's been fascinating because like James Houston, we know what James Houston is, we know who James Houston is, but like he's been with like the second team all week, and he's having like I don't know, I counted like 2 or 3 sacks in a row yesterday, and it's like, okay, this guy is still just a spark plug off the edge. And now with Romeo and Charles back and Julian back, they've got a lot of pieces. There's going to be some tough cuts to make, but you really see the vision of what they were trying to do, building through this secondary, drafting the defensive linemen, signing the defensive lineman types that they have with the inside-outside versatility, and just finding an absolute star in Aiden Hutchinson doesn't hurt either. And I think he's just going to he's Aiden, man. He's going to be Aiden. You see the vision. You see the vision.
It's a beautiful thing. He is Benjamin Raven. Find him on Twitter at Benjamin S. Raven. Find his work at MLive. Read about those tough cuts that will be upcoming and so much more from Ben. Ben, my friend, is always partner. Thank you so much for your time today. Hopefully you're able to get some rest at some point. But, man, continue on. Enjoy, and we'll continue reading. And thank you so much for the time, partner.
Yes, sir. We got another week before rest, but we're soon enough. Anytime.
There we go, man. I love it. One more week. He's not quitting early. I love that.